Good evening. I had a very interesting conversation with my father this morning. We're talking about how the will to power, having no moral compass but believing that power is the ultimate forte in life, is a downfall of many a civilization. For example, the Germans, they believed that they were a superior race and that their entire point is to gain more power by taking over France and Russia and all these other European countries. And they should have studied history because it shows tyrants never last. If you try and take over by force, it will never last. Like my grandfather, apparently he was extremely assertive and he wooed my grandmother to marry him. And they lasted for about 10 years, but eventually they broke up, divorced in the mid-1960s because he kind of made her marry him against her will. Like, he didn't put a gun to her head, but he was just like never left her alone. And so that's metaphorical for like the German race. The Nazis, they tried to take over the world, but they didn't have God on their side. They didn't have any ethical foundations, and they rose quickly, but then they fell quickly. And look at the repercussions. They have been fucked up now since like 80 years. Like they're known for being extreme cucks, extremely into sexual fetishes and drugs, and extremely feminine. So the moral of the story is, the English Empire was the most successful because they at least tried to be fair. Apparently in India, the reason why they were so successful is because they wooed the people with their stories. And I've had arguments with Indians and they say, it's only because of gunpowder. The English, they lied to us, they took our gold. They used guns to scare us. But the ratio was 1 soldier to 1 million Indian men. Now, call me crazy, but I think that 100 Indian men with bayonets can beat 1 Englishman with one of those muskets. You know, in the 1600s, those guns took like 5 minutes to refill, 30 seconds. And obviously, you have strength in numbers. So, the Gaelics, the Anglo-Saxons, they are famous for having the gift of the gab, and also for being the most righteous out of all Europeans. Germans are famous for the biggest antichrists. And look which empire, which language are we speaking, cunt? Fucking English. You know why? Because we're sick cunts. It's because we at least tried to do the best we could with in terms of fairness. Look, we fucked up, but we still did a pretty decent job. Like, imagine if the Japanese or the Spanish or the Dutch tried to colonize Australia, or the French, they would have been even harsher to the indigenous people. And yes, there were war crimes, but it was a different world. In the 1700s, it was a different world. Most people died in their birth because of lack of medical knowledge. It was a rough place. It's very hard now to judge what they went through and what they did, considering we now have a society built on the English Empire and everywhere, because America is an English country and American culture has invaded the whole world. So everyone is affected by England. So you can't say that they were extremely evil. They must have had some good points to last that long. But historically, which empire has lasted that long? Tell me. Fucking Anglo-Saxons are sick, boy!